everyone, and welcome to Set the WESTWORLD on Fire. We are at episode 9, and we only have one more episode to go after this.
It's sad just to think about it, Ryan.
I know. I don't know when we're going to have to wait for next season to roll around, but I imagine it'll be at least a year down the road. But at least it's definitely been confirmed for season 2, which we're looking forward to.
Absolutely.
This episode was called The Well-Tempered Clavier, which is a composition written by Sebastian Bach. I'm not really sure how this applies to this particular episode. Usually the names of the episodes have something to do with what's going on in them. But this one, I don't know, this one left me a little confused because the song wasn't featured in the episode at all, and I'm not sure what the significance of this particular piece of music is. Anyway,
I have a theory, Ryan. I think what they're the only thing I can tie it into, is something that Robert Ford said near the end of the episode about the piano.
Yeah.
And how it does not kill how it doesn't kill its player.
The piano doesn't kill if it doesn't like the music that you're playing on it.
Yes, thank you.
So that probably has something to do with it. And maybe they just thought it was a cool sounding name. So, speaking of that particular part of the episode, let's get right in there with exactly what happened in this episode, because there was quite a bit. We're actually getting down and dirty with what is going on with multiple timelines, and we're have the answers to quite a few big questions here. So it starts out with Maeve and Bernard having a discussion after she had been brought in after last episode, and she actually ends up controlling Bernard as if she was Ford, like telling him to stop and do things, and this totally sends him spiraling off into kind of like a dazed and confused state, and this causes him to go and confront Ford about his past.
Yes. Basically after showing Bernard that she has gained full sentience, Bernard then breaks into Ford's office to confront, and then later confronts Ford over some of his findings. Ryan,
yeah,
it's rather an interesting turn because we haven't seen this amount of benevolence from Bernard yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, insubordination or something.
Insubordination,
like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, he's kind of like fed up with all of these confusing things that are going on in his head, and he just wants Ford to give him all of the information so he can make sense of it, basically. And Bernard is threatening Ford with a gun, saying that if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to have Clementine, who he's reprogrammed, shoot you. And Ford complies with it. He's unlocking all of these memories. Bernard's going through all of these emotions and all of these past experiences, and he's remembering killing Elsie. He's remembering that his son isn't actually real. He actually is taking control of that particular memory. He's telling the people in the room to leave and things like that, which we've seen some of that, the host's ability to control themselves in their past memories, with Dolores and some other instances too. So seems like kind of like a lucid dream kind of thing, where you can actually some people can take control of themselves in their dreams. This is exactly what's going on with these hosts.
Yeah, I found it kind of interesting, Ryan. At first, my first theory was maybe he's storing a memory that he previously had, and that the sun itself was actually a host. But I think I'm more inclined, after watching it a second time, to agree that I think it is more of a lucid dream than anything. But, I mean, again, the scene really leaves it up to the viewer to decide how they wish to interpret it. So, again, I found this whole sequence of events amazing. I'm a little surprised that Bernard, when he restoring all these memories didn't burn out or suffer a malfunction, because even though Ford hinted that Bernard could take it physically, he didn't think that Bernard would like what he found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely seemed to take it very well, actually. Like making sense of it pretty quickly without having to think too much about it. And through these memories that some of them Dolores is also sharing in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go back to her in a little while, but she goes to that town that we keep seeing over and over again. What do they call it? Esperanto or something like that?
Escalante, that's
Escalante. Okay, I knew it was something along those lines. And she goes there, and she goes into the church, and she actually finds this secret elevator into this lab that Arnold had been creating trying to build his consciousness into the hosts way back when he was still alive.
It was held in the confessional booth. That's where the underground. That's the elevator to where the underground lab is.
Yep. And so we kind of have the meshing of her remembering this lab as well as Bernard reliving these memories, and throughout the whole scenario, it's revealed that Arnold is in fact dead, and that Robert Ford created Bernard in Arnold's image and basically kept him in his partner position even though he wasn't alive, by basically turning him into Bernard.
Called it. Well,
yep.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I think that's a theory that a lot of people came to the conclusion of previously, but it was still a good plot twist that was revealed, Ryan, and it did a lot of good for the episode, in my opinion.
Yep. I think it was, like you said, there was definitely a breadcrumb trail leading to this conclusion, the same way that there was a trail leading to originally Bernard being a host and things like that. What I like best about this show so far is how it actually reveals its secrets moments before it actually reveals its secrets. So in the scene that Dolores was reliving where Ford goes in and talks to Arnold, she walks past a door and it says Arnold Weber on the door.
Yes.
Which confirmed the theory that we talked about last episode, in that Bernard Lowe is an anagram for Arnold Weber.
Right.
So.
And I thought it was mentioned in previous episodes as well, but I'll have to rewatch the season, Ryan, and confirm that. But it was, I mean, again, the real shocker for me though came later. During Dolores's quest of sorts, and what she admits when she's going through these alternate timelines, and what she confers to Arnold.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of things that go down here. So the conclusion of this is we find out that Dolores is, all these times that we've seen Dolores talking to Bernard, talking to Ford out in Westworld, all this stuff, these are all separate timelines that she is remembering. And one of those timelines is her in her farmer's daughter dress talking to Bernard in those metal chairs, and that's actually inside this secret lab that we didn't actually know still existed or where it was or anything like that. And I took that to be that conversation between Bernard and Dolores to actually be a conversation between Arnold and Dolores. Yes. And there was a conversation that they had about, why, she asks Bernard or Arnold, why aren't you helping me? And he's like, you know why I'm not helping you. And she says, it's because I killed you.
Yes. Which to me, this is probably the biggest twist, Ryan, that I did not see coming. Like, I don't know how many other people saw this or were shocked by this revelation, but this actually amazed me, Ryan. I didn't see. It now shows us that Dolores. It mentioned. I mean, again, Dolores admits that she killed Arnold. Now, how she did this, I would like to be interested
Right.
in the show revealing that, because it proves to us that the hosts have now, other than Bernard, now have had the ability to kill people. So this will be this, hopefully in the next episode they'll give us some revelations on that. But
Yeah, seemingly. We don't know all the details on what the situation around that was. She says she killed him, but who knows? Maybe it was Ford pulling strings, or maybe it was some sort of accident, or it could even be a situation where
she
Ford.
ratted him out.
Well, yeah, it could be that, or it could even be like Ford going in and manipulating stuff, like into
It
making
could
her
be.
think that she killed him. Because
It's
as we find out, um, coming up, Ford still has a seemingly endless bag of tricks to reveal. Um, so after
which we've discussed out, which we actually had this discussion earlier in the day, Ryan, and we'll
yeah,
take a look at that later.
and throughout this, Bernard still seems to be kind of taking it all right, like realizing actually that he needs to rise up against Ford and take the hosts that are becoming more sentient, like Dolores, and probably he may not know it at the moment, but Maeve and others. He needs to be their leader, basically.
In the
And
words of Negan, Ryan, Bernard's been taking it like a champ.
I don't know.
But I know. Well, let's move ahead.
And he's realizing this, and then he basically orders Clementine to shoot Ford, but Ford has his backdoor trick where he's actually in control of Clementine the whole time, and he was also in control of Bernard the whole time, and was just kind of letting it all pan out, hoping that Bernard would come to the realization that he should continue to be Ford's partner in the whole situation.
Yep, and then basically Ford mentions that now that his experiment and his theory failed, he feels like he has no other choice but to have Bernard go through the ultimate sacrifice,
Yep.
which I'm sure was heartbreaking for many people, including myself, to see. We didn't see the actual act, but Bernard then tells basically in a very elegant, articulate way for Bernard to take the pistol from Clementine's hands and commit suicide.
And yeah, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, there could be another Bernard around the corner.
It could be, Ryan.
He's a host. We know that they get replaced all the time, or they get fixed up, and it just, there could be another. Ford could have another Bernard already in the making, and ready to, he'll be back next episode.
And again, we did not see the actual suicide. We did not see him
sure
killing himself. So is it possible he's still alive? Yes, but I know that we heard a body go thud. So it'll be interesting to see the final episode and how that turns out. But Ryan, we discussed a little earlier about all of these backdoor tricks,
yeah,
and, for lack of a better term, trump cards that Ford seems to have.
yeah.
Now, I know how you discussed it's kind of a cheap way to do it, and maybe it's just because we've seen throughout this whole season, we've seen Ford having, it seems to be all these, like in gamer terms, cheat codes for him to advance. But I'd also like to give a counter argument. Because Ford's character is so brilliant, even though he's immoral, and he was one of the creator, and that he essentially is the the creator of Westworld with Arnold, wouldn't it make sense for him to have all these fail safes? You know, like he said before in the previous episode, he built Bernard's mind. He knows it inside and out. He's the architect. He knows every nook and cranny inside this system. So couldn't we argue that even though we would love to see Ford taken, caught completely off guard, doesn't it make more sense for him to know his creation from the inside and out?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously he would have fail-safes and things to fall back on, but at the same time, it makes him almost like an invincible villain. So what's even the point of trying to fight him?
It makes him a god.
Yeah, what's even the point of trying to fight him? Like, oh, show's over because Ford can't be stopped.
I mean, it's a good point, Ryan, but I would argue that again, Bernard is one creation, but I would argue that throughout this evolution, I wonder if there's not more to the story that we're seeing. Perhaps because again, Ford being a scientist wanted to use his creations in experiments. In this case, social experiments. And again, it does feel a little cheap that he has all the power, but
yeah,
I think it could set up for an even bigger downfall, I want to say, within the plot. Because
it could, but there's always the chance that, you're thinking in the back of your head, oh, he's just going to pull something else out of his sleeve. And then when it does actually come to pass that Ford does end up running out of tricks, it's like, well, why didn't he plan for that? He planned for everything else. Why was this the one thing that it's just, if it keeps happening, it's going to be a real sticking point for me in terms of the plot. And it seems like everything that's going on is actually in his control. Like, all of this stuff we're seeing appears to be part of his narrative. That's the sense I'm getting, especially with the little bit of like next time on Westworld they showed and stuff like that. It seems like almost everything that's going on is actually feeding back into his narrative. Even the things going on, not actually inside the park proper, but even outside in the facilities and things like that. That's just what it seems to me at this point.
It does seem a little bit like that, Ryan, and I can't argue with that. And hopefully they don't sacrifice the plot too much or give us any bad plot twists or bad revelations or not even plot twists. Not that they harm the story. But at the same time, I think we understand that Bernard wasn't going to succeed in having Clementine kill Ford based on the simple fact that I don't think the show wants to get rid of their highest billed actor in the credits, but I don't think they want to get rid of their most award nominated.
Yeah, but wouldn't that have been a great twist?
It would have been a great twist, but I would have argued that it might have been a twist that had a bigger cost than they were prepared to give. I mean, it would have been interesting, and it would have been probably HBO's most shocking moments since, say, they killing Ned Stark in the first season of Game of Thrones. But I don't know how I'd feel about it overall. And I think it just would have been too much of a cost. But again, I mean, we have one more episode, Ryan, so it very well could go down that route. We'll see.
So we have another storyline here with William and Logan. They've been, of course, last episode, William and Dolores were captured by Logan. And Logan is attempting to kind of get William back into quote-unquote sanity because he seems to be obsessed with Dolores and trying to get her out of the park. And to do this, he stabs Dolores in the stomach and kind of like rips her apart, and you can see all the gears and stuff moving inside of her.
Now, if this was a real human, she would have bled like a stuffed pig. So.
Oh yeah, she would have died. But she actually ends up escaping and cutting Logan on the cheek in doing so. And then after, just to tie up Dolores's story, she goes off, and then that's where we were talking about where she was having the visions of the past, going down into that lab and things like that. During this scene, Logan also shows William a picture of his sister and William's fiance, and it's important to note because it's the picture that Abernathy finds in the very first episode that spins him out of control and actually starts this whole host breakdown thing. So we actually,
was that the picture?
Yeah,
was that the picture?
It was the picture. Yeah, it's that girl standing in New York City with the cab behind her. And so that's a connection there. So somewhere along the line, that picture finds its way into the dirt at the Abernathy Ranch, and who puts it there? Right now, Logan has it, but it seems like at the end of this scenario, William's actually in control, because he plays it up that William plays it up that he's seeing the light and agreeing with Logan, but then they all end up passing out drunk, and Logan wakes up to all of the Confederado hosts dismembered and destroyed by William.
That was again that was probably, Ryan, the second most shocking thing that happened in the episode. In fact, this is one of the reasons it caused me to rewatch the episode again, just to even process the fact that William would slaughter all of those Confederados. It was almost as surprising as Logan making amends with William. You know, he was calling him his brother, and that all but saying that he loved him, which I found a little strange considering everything that's happened. But
that was all an act. That was all him trying to, get on his good side and everything like that.
Well, apparently he failed.
Right. Yeah, so this shows like some sort of deep psychosis inside of William that he's just... He says he's figured out how to play the game.
Yes.
And how that connects to dismembering all of these hosts, I'm really not sure, but we're going to find out later, because he's basically forcing Logan to help him find Dolores and continuing on his journey. So now William's is wearing the big boy pants.
Indeed he is, Ryan. Indeed he is. And what would happen after Dolores is free? I wonder if he imagines a life with him and Dolores.
I don't know.
Man and machine. Side by side.
When that was mentioned, Dolores was like, why would I want to go to a world that you're escaping by coming to a hellhole like Westworld?
Well, I think it all has to do with perception, because even Logan said Westworld was made for man, and yet, so for Logan, this is the afterlife, or the closest thing to the afterlife is Westworld. For Dolores, that would be the real world. So it's interesting how those two worlds, how they coexist, and how one wants to attain one world, which is Maeve wanting to escape and be in the real world, while the others want to go into a world of fantasy and make-believe.
So yeah, that's Maeve's little bit here is she ends up convincing Hector to join her. Not really too many details going on there. Other than they're obviously going to be conspiring in presumably the next episode, because we saw some scenes of them going down into the decommissioned area where all the hosts are.
Well, you know what they say, Ryan. These violent delights have violent ends.
Yep, that was also in that. But you know who was saying that?
Bernard.
Bernard said that.
Who once said that Arnold said to Dolores.
Oh, there was one theory that came to the YouTube channel that Maeve was actually going to try and use the decommissioned hosts as part of her army, which seems like we may be going in that direction based on the little preview we saw at the end of this episode.
Yeah, but previews only reveal a small little bit of the situation, Ryan.
The kind of final story here is we have, of course, the Man in Black and Teddy are sitting around the campfire still. Now they're both tied up. And Angela, who's just to recap, the girl that meets William at the beginning in season 2, and now she's with them, with the Man in Black and Teddy, out in the wilderness near the campfire. Angela, she tells Teddy that this vision he's having of him and Wyatt massacring. What was the name of it?
Escalante.
Escalante. It was actually Teddy acting alone, and he wasn't even a soldier killing other soldiers. He was a sheriff or a deputy killing innocent people. And Teddy doesn't believe that that's true. Blah 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 blah. And she's like, and eventually you're going to be helping Wyatt with his mission, but you're not ready yet, and she ends up killing him. R.I.P. Teddy again.
Poor James Marston.
Yeah, so this was a weird situation where the memories clashed, or maybe there are two memories, and he doesn't know where one ends and one begins. Like maybe two different timelines or something like that.
Maybe Ryan, but let's also talk about what happens to the Man in Black in one of the better action scenes that happened in this episode, Ryan.
Sure. So at the end of this scenario, the Man in Black knows where he must go because Angela mentions the city buried in the sand, which is the city that the town we've been talking about. And so she knocks him out, and he wakes up with a noose around his neck, and the other end of the noose wrapped around a tree and tied to a horse. And he has to perform a daring maneuver, trying to grab a knife and cut the rope before the horse runs away.
Same knife that was used to stab Teddy, by the way, Ryan.
Yeah, seems like it. Although that wasn't Teddy on the ground.
You're right. It was no, it wasn't. But the knife looked like the same one, didn't it not?
It might have been. And yeah, so he narrowly escapes getting hung up in the tree, and at this point, Hale shows up in Westworld, walks right up to him, and talks a little bit about Ford and Teresa, how Teresa's now been killed, and it's revealed that I don't think this had been directly set out before, but the Man in Black is actually as a member of the board of directors, and Hale's kind of asking him to vote to get rid of Ford, and the Man in Black kind of refuses, says, no, I'm not here to do all the politics and stuff. I just want to find the maze, and
he just wants to continue to play the game.
Yeah, enjoy the narratives. That's why he's here.
It seemed more to me, Ryan, that he'll say yes to it, but he really could care less about what happens to Ford. He only cares about his game.
Yeah, that seems like he's indifferent to it, basically.
Yes.
He's like, as long as I can still keep playing my game, I don't really care either way. Is basically how it went out, which isn't what Hale wanted. She wanted his support behind her, but you get what you can get, I guess.
Well, beggars can't be choosers, Ryan. What can you say?
So he continues on his journey, and then near the end of the episode, Dolores has her revelation of Arnold and all of that, and she's leaving the church, and the Man in Black shows up and confronts her, and that's where that storyline ends off. So there's a what we saw, like kind of like a going back to the first episode, coming again here at the end of the season where they're meeting up again. And we'll see where that goes. Obviously, Dolores is scared, and the Man in Black is like all sinister.
It seems to me, Ryan, that the end of the next episode is going to bring us full circle. I think we're finally going to reveal the identity of the Man in Black. I know that people are starting to form their own theories on his identity, on who he is, and which will back up some of the alternate timelines, Ryan. But
well, what are the running theories? What's
running theories
do you have a most interested one? Because I really don't.
Basically, they're now trying to say that William is the Man in Black, or he becomes the Man in Black. That's what everyone seems to be thinking.
I really don't think that's the situation.
Neither do I, Ryan. But again, we have one more episode before the season ends, so it'll be interesting to find out one way or the other.
We'll find out. I mean, just basically Ed Harris doesn't look anything like, I don't even remember what the guy's name is, but the Man in Black doesn't look anything like William. Like
No,
their facial
I
features
confirm
aren't
with
even
that.
similar.
I confirm with that, but then again, you would also have to tie in the other things, like if Bernard's based off Arnold, or is it almost a artificial copy of Arnold? Wouldn't people start to question, hey, why does Bernard look so much like Arnold? And think to themselves, oh
I
well,
don't know.
maybe hopefully the next episode will explain that. But
Yeah,
either
I
way,
guess I never really, or maybe Ford cleaned house and anybody who knew what Arnold looked like.
Yep, you're gone.
And then there's a final little bit here where Stubbs goes to investigate Elsie's last known position, and he gets ambushed by ghost warriors. Those are the Native Americans, and they don't respond to his command, so he presumably gets captured by them. I don't really know what's going to go on there, but I imagine we'll find out next episode.
Well, hopefully they don't massacre him and use his body parts as trophies, or he suffers the same fate as the Confederados in the previous episode.
Leave Stubbs with Stubbs.
Leave Stubbs with Stubbs. I like that. But one thing I'd also like to end, Ryan. Last week I gave praise to Jeffrey Wright on his performance as Bernard. I think this episode should be Jeffrey Wright's submission for awards. I thought he was absolutely outstanding for how he portrayed Bernard in this episode in particular. And again, Jeffrey Wright's a great actor and all, but I thought this was his defining episode and moment, and had his defining moments in this particular episode.
Yeah, I think he's put out a good performance the whole time, and these last two episodes especially have really been just very convincing. You know, has to go through a lot of emotions and things like that, and I think he's doing a pretty good job considering.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was. But that's enough on that topic. Overall, Ryan, I know this episode divided some people. A lot of the critics seem to really appreciate this episode and the revelations. Again, some of these twists fans have called out previously, or came to the conclusion a while ago, but it's still fun to see them. And as you see, there are still some twists here that we still didn't see coming. So this next episode is going to have big expectations in terms of plot, character, and revelations. I think that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it all ends off, like how they tie some of the stories up and how far they go before they just leave it off into the next season. Obviously there'll be some sort of big cliffhanger because that's the type of show this is, but yeah, I'm really excited to see how they convince me to watch season 2, which it's not going to take much to convince me to watch season 2, but you know what I mean.
We may not see season 2 until 2018. Again, I mean, even though beggars can't be choosers, and I hope this comes back within a year, good things come to those who wait. So we'll just hope that I would rather wait to have a superior product than come back to an unfinished product. Think True Detective season 2, for instance.
Yeah, but I mean, this isn't quite like a video game where they rush it at the end.
Right. No, absolutely. It took years for the show to be into production.
Yeah, so I hope it comes back sometime next year, too. I like it around this time because there's kind of a gap in, well, I mean, if you watch The Walking Dead, there isn't a gap, but there's a gap in my viewing schedule, and it's right around my birthday, so that works out.
Absolutely, Ryan. You've definitely got a point there.
So I think that's going to wrap up this episode. We'll be back next week with the finale to Set the WESTWORLD on Fire, Season 1 anyway. And if you've got any theories you want to discuss, people are really getting in the comments and dropping a lot of thoughts and questions and things like that, and we really appreciate that. Yeah, just let us know what you think. Let us know what your running theories are. I mean, I know we're running out of episodes to come up with new things, but let us know what you think long term. Like, well, what do you think season 2 is going to be? Where do you think all of these stories are heading? We'd love to hear you in the comments.
Absolutely. They only get one more chance to do this, Ryan, before we take a little break. But please send us your thoughts, opinions, comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. It's been a really fun experience, and we thank the listeners out there for taking the time to hear what we have to say about it.
All right, so we're gonna leave it off with a yeehaw!
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers!
Get along, little doggy.
Y'all come back now, you hear?